Hello, this is Toby from Touch Ups Automotive. We have a 2020 Ford F150 Super Crew. This also applies from 2015 to 2020. We're gonna put a casket and leather kit on this and show you how to do it. All right, here we go.
All right, so first thing you want to do is take this headrest off. It's got these two push pins. Then you want to take these screws out on the plastic. There's two of them. There's one here, and they're both T20 Torx bit. And the other is back here. Then you basically want to grab it from the back and up here and just pull it up and around to get it over this lip here. And from there, it pretty much slides forward. You don't want to pull back on it. It's got this clip here that basically goes around this metal piece, and then you push this tab on this plug and pull it out. This is for the power driver seats that have these controls on them. The ones that have the lever here and or the lumbar control are different. Alright, so we got a manual seat plastic we're going to show you how to take apart. We've already taken the screws out, the one in the front and the one in the back. They're in the same spots as the power. And we're going to get this lean back lever off. So what you're going to need to do is get something that will spread this apart, and then get a picking tool, one that has a bend on the end. And you're going to stick it in here and trying to get that clip out in there. You're just going to stick it up under the clip and pull up on the clip, and then the clip comes out. And now for the lumbar support, just going to lean the seat back and basically there's another clip on the lumbar support, and you might have to turn the lumbar support until the top of the clip is facing you. And basically just get up under it with this picking tool. And just pull back. And then both of these will come off. And now this plastic panel has this arrow triangle shaped clip thing that needs to be squeezed, and you might have to even push the panel, push it in, and then squeeze these together until they will fit through that hole. And then from there, put pressure upward on this, pull it out, and then slide it off. And that's what it looks like. So once you got the plastic off the seat, you really want to flip it upside down, because that's where most of the rest of the stuff you got to take apart is underneath the seat. And you're going to want to take these plugs out. And so basically just want to get in there and apply some pressure left and right and pull it out and unplug it. And it's got this red tab. Sometimes you can't get it with your fingers. Pull the red tab and then push on that pin and pull the plug out. And then same with this side. And this just has this tab here. Pull that out, and then take these elastic straps out. And this one has seat heaters, and the ones that have the seat heaters have another plug you gotta take out. Just gonna get this tree out there, and then there's a plug here. Just push that pin and pull it out. So you pull this back, and you can get this J clip here for the back. And the best way is to just stick this tooth of this tool in here. And just pry it out. And also got to get these clips that go to the butt. And trying to stick the tool on the inner side of it and pull out and away. It's clipped into this side. Just like that. And while you're over here, you can get these zippers, pull them out, and this back has these J clips around these yellow rails. And then let's get the rest of this cushion. So there's a clip in here. Pull that out. and then there's a clip here, and then this one up here. And 2 more in the front. And this one already off of there for some reason. And from here, we're ready to flip it back over. At this point, you can pretty much lift up and kind of work the cushion out from in between there, and go ahead and take this cover off. Just kind of pull it up around on all the sides. And from here, you have this rail and these clips. And the best way to do it is to just put some pressure against one side of this clip and twist the rail out. And when you put pressure on these clips, like this one, you can hear that pop out when you twist it and pull it up. So listen again. And basically 3 on the sides, 2 in the back, and I believe 3 in the front. Now that we have the cushion off, we can move to the back. Alright, on the back, these wires are going through the actual cover. As you can see, this hole here. So we want to pull them out of there. The small yellow plug is easy. The other one has to be, come around here. Has to be pulled out this way. And take this plug over the front of the seat and just work it out this way. And then you put the plug back in its natural place. And then for the rest of the back, you want to just get the bottom, start from the bottom first. And then come over here and basically roll this over both sides. And you got these headrest bevels, and just kind of pull like towards you as much as you can, and then pull up to expose the corner, and then just kind of go around the other corners. And then from there you want to get a 10 millimeter. And we're going to get these airbag nuts out of here. And then you pull the airbag out, and you gotta get it plugged here. And there's got two of these white tabs here, one there and one on the back that you can't really see, but it looks the exact same. And you pull both of those down at the same time, and it just falls out. The plugs are slightly different on the older models. This is the 2020 model plug for the airbag, and it's got this system. The older ones have different systems. On the older ones, usually there's a orange tab on the bottom, and you just pull the orange tab out, and then the whole thing, you can pull the whole thing out. And then from there, I'm going to take the airbag out, set it aside, and now we're on to the clips and rails of the back, and it's just the same process as the cushion. Yeah, all of this is only really necessary if you want to save the cover. You can just cut the rails off from the covers themselves, and then, but really you're gonna have to use that method if you don't want to break these clips. These clips in the seats are pretty easy to break sometimes. But if you push on one side and roll the rail out, it comes out pretty easy. So now that we've got the cloth covers off, it's time to put the leather ones on. Alright, so we got the leather covers, the back and the cushion, and it doesn't matter which one you start on, but the back has to be complete before you can put the cushion on. So we're just going to do the back first. The cover has to be turned inside out. Completely before you can put it on there. So let's go ahead and turn it inside out. And we're gonna do the middle first. We're gonna do this middle rail, and I'm gonna push this rail into these clips, and you want to put some support in the back just to help you push the clip in there, push the rail in there. So once you got that, you really want to look from behind and make sure it's all centered. This is a little off, so I'm just going to slide it over a little bit. And then from there, you want to do these side rails. And, you know, I always go based off this seam here, make sure it's lined up with the, you know, this rail here. And then I'm holding from behind on all of these. And then we'll go to the other side. Do the same thing. And once you got all the rails clipped in, the next thing you want to do before anything else is get this airbag where it goes. So Gonna slide the airbag up into its little pouch until these bolts are sticking through. And you want to make sure you plug it up. And just stick the nuts back on there for now. And now that that's where that goes, we're just going to roll the cover over the ends here. You want to kind of be careful. You don't want to pull that zipper apart too much. Roll the rest of it over. On this part, you know, it gets pretty tight pulling this over. When you're pulling it over, you kind of want to grab both sides of the zipper and kind of keep the pressure, keep it from spreading apart. Just kind of like hold it with the pressure together on the zipper part and roll it over, because last thing you want to do is rip that zipper apart. So just fold the rest of it over. So at this point, we're going to tighten down those nuts on the airbag. Alright, so for the rest of it, I'm going to use a steamer as I'm putting it all together. If you don't have a steamer, you can work it as best you can and get it everything where it goes and then put it in the sun. Or once you put it all back in the car, you can turn the heat on and let it sit for a while. So you want to get these J-clips on this metal frame here. And you know, you want them to be even too. You can just go based off this little dip here. They seem pretty even. Next, we're gonna do these sides. Alright, so it's got these tails here, these Velcro straps. And on each side, and you really want to connect them. So grab them both, and you can just get them connected, and then go back where they are and get them where they're supposed to go. You know, they basically going to go behind this part of the frame here, and then same on the other side. Kind of just behind this plastic here as best you can. And then once it's where it goes, I usually undo it and make it a little bit tighter. Then basically it's got these clips, these J clips here on both sides, and they're going to go to the yellow rail, same as the cloth one came off. And so basically just got to get up in here and get that around it. Sometimes you have to pull it down a little bit and then clip it in this little one. And the same on the other side here. Sometimes you gotta pull pretty hard. And on the sides, I always do the airbag side first because this foam is really thin over here, and you can kind of make sure it all stays in place before you do the other side. And I try and keep this zipper aligned with this line on the foam, on that body line. And I don't like to use a tool when I'm pulling this zipper down, because you don't want to stick a tool in this zipper and pull when you don't have both of these together like this. These zippers are really easy to mess up and just ruin. And once you've ruined this zipper, there's really no going back. Get it all the way to the end. And then over here, same thing, trying to keep it as much aligned with the edge of this foam as I can. Okay, now we gotta flip it upside down. And get this last J clip here. And we gotta make a hole for these wires and plugs to go through. And, you know, in the same place that the cloth cover was. So, you know, this is basically what we're trying to replicate here. And you know, it doesn't have to be a big hole. You can just make a little slit. Big enough for this plug to go through. I usually cut a little thing like that. And same for the other side. And then we stick these through. And then you know, I always pull up on these parts here because it just makes it look better. And we're gonna pull these together and connect these J-clips. And then it's ready to be flipped back over. And reunited with the cushion. Alright, we're going to start on the cushion. Same thing with the back. I'm going to turn this cover inside out. And start in the middle, these middle two rails. Start with this back one. Put these in and then make sure it's lined up. And then this front one. And make sure it's lined up. And these sides. And you're basically just going to roll it over the cushion. Velcro that, and there it is, ready to go on the back. On these Velcro straps, a lot of times it doesn't seem tight enough when you Velcro them normal. It kind of leaves these loose, so what I'll do is basically turn this one this way, turn this one the opposite way, and Velcro them like that, and that basically pulls it a little tighter. You never see any of this, and it's just tighter around here, makes it look better. Alright, we have the cushion here. When you're putting the cushion on the seat, first thing you want to do, if it has seat heaters, is get this plug and make sure it's going back where it's supposed to go and trailed through correctly. On the older models, the plug actually comes through the foam here, and then it will go through the seat here. But the 20s and some of the newer models, they have it just coming off the back of the cushion. And so in this case, it's going to go all the way behind the seat. So then, you know, push these J-clips on the cushion through. And so as you can see, here's the the big bar on this frame, and the seat heater wire, and these J clips coming behind it. And now we gotta get the foam up over this rail here. So there's a couple ways to do that. So one way, you can just, it's not too tight on these seats. You might be able to sandwich your hand in between both of them and use that as a guide. And then on this side, just kind of go up underneath the seat and push it through and pull it over. Another way is you can basically do it, go from here and stick your hand and push it in there. But once the foam for the cushion is through there, basically you're ready for the rest of it. So, make sure everything's where it goes when you're putting it on. You have this area here that all of this frame needs to go into. And once you got it where it goes, you want to put this front J clip on, and basically it's going to go on this rail. Like that, until it's clipped in there really good. Now for these sides, make sure this tail is out of here. Alright, now this J clip, just so you can see a little bit better, this J clip has to go on this rail, and it's got to go basically in between these two. So when you put it in there, it's going to go just like that. And then this piece, this little tail here, is going to go behind this motor. And underneath this wire. Just like that. And then back over to here. On there like that. And then same thing for the other side. Make sure it's clipped in there real good, and then you have this basically rubber J-clip. This rubber J-clip, basically I try and pull it down as far as I can. You're not crazy, just pull it down a little bit before you put it on to make the cover look better. Stick it in there and then basically we'll do these here's two spots. The back J-clips to the cushion last because basically, they're right here, and for each side, I'm pulling it tight. Now come back over here. And as I'm pulling it from behind, kind of hitting this and pushing it back as far as I can. And then flipping it up underneath here. Right here. And so we're going to do the same to the other side. Just pull it back. Give it some taps. And clip it back here, same place. So they're both clipped here and here. And then make sure when it's over, this seat heater wire is going through the middle like this. And then you can put the seat belt in its little elastic band, and from here we're ready to put the plastic back on. So make sure you plug it in, and you put it on. Really the first thing you want to make sure is that this is going into here. And so put it up here, and you can see in there that going on there, and just kind of wiggle it back and work it as far as you can. Then come around to the front and basically wanting to make sure that this is on top of that and this is around this. So once you got that, you want to just kind of tap it a little bit to get it ready to go where it goes in the back here. And this part, you just want to put pressure up and try and get it back over this lip. And that's that. So we got that on there. Let's pop the screws back in there. Make sure the hole's in there. And same with the front here. Now that that's all done and ready, I'm gonna plug everything back up. Seat heater. Where it goes, put its Christmas tree back in there. And when you're here, I'm just gonna upside down. Alright, when you're putting these back together, you can plug them up first. And don't forget to push this red tab back in once it's clipped. Put this back in. And you got two spots where this goes back together, you know, here and here. Only do this one for now. I'm gonna pop that one in on both sides. Got two, same thing. Only gonna pop that one in. This seat heater wire usually dangles lower than I would like, so I usually, well, here first, we are gonna put these elastic straps back where they go. And that's the main reason why you wanna wait for this one and this one, is because these elastic straps have to go under it. And then, but what I was saying about this wire, it usually dangles low, and you can see it. So when I'm doing these, I always stick this wire up underneath where this elastic strap goes to. And then you just put these back where they go. And it's done. Almost. We have to cut for these headrest bevels. Alright, for these headrest bevels, you know, should use a razor blade and a fresh one. You don't want to use anything even somewhat dull at all. This needs to be super sharp. And basically on these bevels, you're going to find the hole with your finger that the posts go into, and just cut right above it, and then go to the side, just right next to the hole, and then the bottom, the other side. And you might need trimmed a little bit to get them off there. And this foam. And on these, I'll just put a couple slits to make it a little easier to wrap around without tearing it. Just go one corner, other corner. Just kind of work it to the other side as far as you can, and then slowly the other two corners. Basically, same thing on this side. Alright, for this headrest, we're going to unclip it at the bottom here. And just pull back on it, really. And pull out of that J-clip. And pull these plastic pieces out. And just pull this headrest out of this foam. Just kind of work it out. And then I'll compress this headrest foam down. Just work the cover out around it. Then we're going to take leather cover. Set it aside. I'm gonna put this headrest back into this foam, and then turn it on its side and just put one side into the cover. Work the other side around it. You probably have to keep working it until it's down far enough to where it goes. Just kind of check it, make sure it's even. And then usually pull these sides down even further. And just put these plastic pieces back where they go. Turn down about as far as you can. And pull that plastic over to the J-clip and snap it in there. And make sure it's all even and looks good. Ready to go back on the seat. And it's complete. Alright, now we're moving on to the jump seat. It's one of the more difficult parts of the truck. The tools you're going to need are a T20, a T25, a T40, a T45, and a T50 Torx bits. And, you know, one of these it's going to really be useful. Alright, so we're going to take all the screws out now that we have access to. You're going to open up the lid, and there's a rubber cover. It's got a little pull tab here. You can just pull it out, and then it'll reveal some T20s. And then over here, this cup holder has a rubber cover. I'm going to pull it out. It'll reveal a T25. Right now we have the T20 in here. We'll get these out. Alright, so yeah, pop this off on this side from the back, and then go to the other side, pop it from the back, and then kind of move down halfway, and then to the front. You have to get it from the other side. Just like that. It's got the same type of clips. I think it's got 4 of them. 2 on each side. And we're going to set that aside. And then yeah, we're going to go ahead and come over here where those T25s were underneath, and get these plastic panels off. Start with this one on the side. So just kind of get behind it, pop it out. It's got 2 tabs in the back, and then you gotta pull it out. they take a little finagling. And then this one, this one's got 3 clips, and it slides out a lot easier. So then from there, we can go ahead and remove this gray piece here. And it's got Christmas trees on the inside of it. And really, you know, when you're taking this apart, you want to kind of try and get this tool in between here and pop it out from there, so you don't risk damaging the piece itself. And it's got 2 of them. Once you got those 2, you can lean it up and push it out from around this lever here. And it can just kind of sit there while you're doing the rest of it. So then go ahead and get the T20 again, and we're going to get some of the rest of these screws, some of these small screws. So there's one down here, and one right here. Side. And then while you're at it, go ahead and get these 2 on the seatbelt level. And go ahead and pop it off, get the seatbelt out of it, so it's out of the way. And then we need to remove the headrest. It doesn't really move much, so you gotta get in there and hit these 2 push pins. At the same time, it'll come out. And lean that back and pull up on the rear storage area, that part. And these 2. Pause it. Then you're going to take the T30 and go ahead and remove these. And then from here, You're gonna lean it back down and flip it upside down. Alright, once it's all upside down, we're gonna work on removing the plastic around it. And the first thing we're gonna do, take or remove is this cup holder part. It's the very back. It's got 6 of these clips like this, and we're gonna start with these ones, the very bottom ones. Just remove these 2 on each side, and then there's gonna be ones that are kind of deep in there, and these 2 in the middle kind of pop out on their own. And yeah, so those are the ones we're trying to get. Alright, so from here, basically want to remove this plug to get this thing out of the way. It's got a push pin. And push that in there, push it out. And then these things basically have tabs on the side of them. And kind of get both sides. And pop them out. And set that out of the way. And then you want to take these Christmas trees out here. There's 2 of them connected to the bottom storage. Once those are removed, this one's got a bunch of extra crap in it. So these have these push pins, and then this one and it's got another Christmas tree there. So once you have all that removed, you lift up and pull it out. And set this aside. So these side plastics have some little clips on them, these metal clips. Take that one off. This one's just got the one. And then slide it down, but watch for this plastic screw housing. You don't want to break it off. Alright, so now move to the other side. It has two metal clips. Pop those out. And might have to move this to the edge of the surface you're working on so you can slide it down. You have to slide it down after you get those metal clips out. You're basically trying to get this plastic edge out from in between the frame and the seat parts. And when you're doing that, also be careful of this. They're really easy to break off. And when you're getting these metal clips off, when you're prying at them, you know, try and make sure you're prying like this. You know, you're not trying to pry at the plastic. You want to get behind these, you know, this metal part on the clip. All right, so once we're there, we're gonna get these bigger Torx bolts out of here. For this side, you're gonna need a 40, 45, and a 50. This one's the 40. This one's the 45. There's two 50s. Pop it out from where the 18 bolts were, and remove it. And this thing pretty much comes out real easy. And we'll set the frame aside. This bottom cushion part, this has this J clip and a flat clip and this Velcro. Pull it around. Basically just roll it off. Just like that. And the top part has a bunch of these plastic tabs, just like that. And you just want to pull down and away from them. And just, be careful not to break them. They break pretty easy. And from there, pull the cover off. It's easiest from the top part. Just roll it around one of the edges. And those headrest bevels, kind of pull away and up and around to try and expose these corners. Kind of work it around it. And it also has Velcro here in the middle. Comes off pretty easy after that. Last but not least, on this jump seat, we got the lid. Alright, this headrest, same as a lot of them. Pull this flat clip out of the J clip. This one's a little tighter. Basically want to get it around one side, compress it down, pull it off the other side. And just pull it out of there. Okay, for the lid, just gonna open it up, turn it upside down, and basically there's just a series of tabs all around the edge of it, just around the whole thing, and we're just gonna pop them off slowly. We're gonna use the steam. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, there's all these gazillion tabs that are also very fragile and they break really easy. It's almost impossible to get this off without breaking the tabs. We're gonna just remove all these staples, most of them. Now we're ready to recover. Alright, so have the cover, and we're gonna lay it upside down, put the lid in it. And for the beginning, I'm gonna aim to, contour the front around this front of this lid because it's got this dip in it. We're gonna get it tight and pull it down from the bottom. You get it kind of in a general idea where we think it's gonna go, kind of basing everything off of this middle part of where the handle is. And get the stapler ready. And for this, we're going to be using, we're going to need long and short staples. One is longer than the other. We're going to use the short ones for the first part. So I'm going to get kind of a general idea. Staple it kind of. Staple gun that we're using has some issues and having to so let's kind of just got to start somewhere up here. We're going to pull it down tight, not too tight, just where it's flat, and staple it down here in the middle. Then from there, pretty much gonna get it where it goes on the rest of it. And it kind of bunches up through here. You're gonna have to cut this part anyway. So, I'm just gonna kind of leave some stress up here. Not too much, still want to be able to staple it down here and not have anything show. And go ahead and get couple more. We'll start working this front area. Alright, so this front area has to be stapled in between, like up here in this front lip. Other side. Still wanting to make sure all this is as even as possible. On this edge here, and then once we kind of got it where we want it, just gonna hit the rest of the area up here. Kind of we're just going to want to do the front and back before we do the sides. And we'll finish up this front area. Alright, after you get the front and back, next thing we're going to need to work on is these corners here. So, you're basically wanting to do it without any wrinkles on the sides. I think it's best to kind of hit just, perfectly in the middle of the two sides on this corner. Put it down first. Work around it on each side. Make sure it's all flat and smooth, no wrinkles. pretty much looks like that when you're done. Alright, and once we're at this point, we're pretty much ready for these side staples. And so before we hit them, just gonna trim some of these corners off so we can better see what we're doing. Alright, now we're going to switch to the long staples. And you just kind of want to pull it tight, not too tight. And basically what we're doing is we're trying to hit this lip right here. And you're kind of going in between. It's like a bunch of almost like prongs, like plastic prongs sticking out. And you go in between the lip and those over the leather. Staple gun we're using has some problems having to I don't even know how to explain it, but I was going to fast forward through all this crap anyway. Alright, well, I'll just pull it this side. Staple gun we're using doesn't like to shoot every time. It likes to shoot just about every other time. So, I'm having to work around that at the moment. But that's why I'm pulling away and shooting at the floor. Alright, so once you got the staples all around it, we're just going to cut some of this excess off. For most of this, there's this lip kind of going around the whole thing, and you can just cut along that outer lip. You know, watch the seams here. If you staple over the seams, you don't have to worry about cutting it. The staple came out. Just gonna put another one back in there. Make sure you're cutting enough to expose where those tabs go. And there you have it. It's ready to go back on. And when you're putting it back on, I'm just going to set it on there the way it goes, and just push the back on there. First, and then you can just press the rest of it on there. Clip it all back into place. Just kind of double check. And then it's good to go. Alright, now we're going to do the part that you sit on. Go ahead and separate the foam from this metal part. Set the metal aside. And we're just going to stick this foam in here. We'll stick the metal in there afterwards. Alright, make sure it's all even and lined up before we put the metal piece in. and try and get it on there like the whole way. Make sure it's not a bunch of baggy, it's not baggy up on the end here. Okay, once you got that, flip it over. Stick this in there. I don't know how you do it. Alright, once we got that where it goes, we're going to stick the metal in here. Alright. Once you got that in there, you want to Velcro this part. Sometimes it's not exactly where it needs to be. You kind of pull it down, work it around until it gets as close as you can get it. And then just like most of the Velcro, you gotta kind of work it into that. Just work it in there. And really get it to stick. Once you get it to stick, just get the sides around. And Velcro these together. And then connect these clips. And you gotta cut these holes where the bolts are gonna go. While you got it off, you can put the lever back on here. So you want to get your screws and your T30, and you also have to make some cuts for this. So it's got this thing here. It's got to go in there. And you can feel around for it. Pretty easy to find. It'll tell you where it's gonna go. So when you're making the cut for this, basically there's a hole there, and to make it look the nicest, we want only the black felt part to be showing. So we're basically going to cut along this side of the hole and allow this material to be the only thing showing through here. So that's what we've done. And we're going to stick it in here. It's all nice and clean. We can take our T30 and put these screws in. You want to just make sure that's where the holes are going. You can poke it with something, feel around for those holes. Now it's ready to go back on. Alright, we're going to work on the back part of the jump seat. We got our cover, and we'll flip it upside down. And just try and get it on there on both sides as best you can to begin with. Go and get the seatbelt through here. and it's going to be really tight. So when you're pulling these around the corners, just kind of keep the pressure off of the seam, off of the corners. It's going to want to split sometimes. Just gotta be careful, and you know, as you're pulling it on, just keep it as together as possible. Just get it over that corner, just, you know, a little bit. I think the front's easiest to do first. Once you got it pretty close, you may have to pull some more of this leather where you got more room to pull it over. Pretty much good enough for now. We're gonna get a little bit more on the bottom. Alright, once you got it where it goes, we can start hooking these ends, hooking the edges around these clips, or the tabs. So, I kind of like to start here where this edge is. And you know, for example, when you're hooking these over, you're trying to make the cut, you know, try and make it for exactly where the cover lies down, where the tab starts coming out of the plastic. So like, up like that. Well, I said I was going to start over here. I just wanted to show you where you can see it. You can't really see this tab in here. Alright, yeah, this side is gonna it's got this Velcro strip, which don't worry about it when you're doing all that. Once you got it on here and it hooked on all those tabs, you know, it's pretty much going to be where it goes. And that'll kind of help it fall into place even better. You know, if you Velcro it first, it could be off somewhere else. So once it's all done, then go ahead and Velcro it. Flip it on its left side, and you're gonna have to cut for these holes that the bolts are gonna go into. And you just gotta find them with your fingers. You know, if you're having a hard time finding them, you can look inside there, and it can help you get a better idea. Or if you're still not comfortable with all that, you can take a, you know, anything, a screwdriver or something that'll fit through there, and put it through that hole and bring it up this way and cut around it. You can do that for both of them. You know, this is just the way we do it. Alright, while you got it off of the frame, you can go ahead and put this seatbelt cover back on here. You might have to kind of make sure it's going to go where it needs to go first. And it's got two guiding pins, and then it's got the screw holes. Alright, so get that seatbelt back in there. And then get our screws ready. I'm going to put it in place, try and line up them guiding pins. Alright. One of the last things on this is these headrest bevels. And an important note on these, you're not going to cut these the exact same way that you cut all the other ones. These are on an angle, so they have to be, the hole has to be moved down lower than it normally would be. So normally you'd find the hole, you cut right around the hole. On this one you're going to want the hole to be the same size but slightly lower, actually quite a bit. On these ones I'll usually find the edge of the bevel and cut the bottom hole there, or bottom cut there, you know, lined up with the hole, and then find the hole and cut your normal location on the sides. And then the top cut will probably be like, you know, just right above the beginning of the hole. You know, you're basically just moving this square down lower than it normally would go. So when I take this off, you'll see what I mean. So, you know, it's pretty much the same size. Well, it is the same size. It's just moved down. And I'll cut normal slits that I do to help give it some room to get on there. And just like the other ones, are gonna go over one corner. Try and work around the second one. But be careful not to rip the other sides of it. You know, sometimes you can leave a little bit of that stress. But yeah, if you cut it where the hole actually is, a lot of times you'll be able to see the hole on the top of the bevel, and we don't want that. So same thing on this one. Pretty much gonna find the edge of that bevel, find the hole, and then cut it right along the bottom of the hole, pretty much. And there you have it. And you know, even though we cut so low, you can't, you know, it's still got quite a bit of room before you can see any of the cuts. So just keep that in mind. Now this thing pretty much ready to go back on the frame. Now that everything's covered, we're ready to put it all back together. We'll start with the part that you sit on. And then we'll take these F250s. This one can be kind of tricky. You know, these are really what make it tricky. It has to kind of go into these holes, but also, you know, be careful not to cut it on all this frame area. So what we're gonna do is try and stick it in those holes first as best we can. And just be careful when you slide it down here. Right. And then here, come back over here. Once you got it to that point, you can kind of get them better in there. You know, while you're holding on to this, it's just real easy to cut it on this frame. Get all that back in place. Before you put any of the plastic on, don't forget this seat belt. Seat belt has to go before. If you forget, you'll have to take the plastic back off and do it all over again. We're going to do the seatbelt side plastic first. As we're putting this on, you know, I guess this is what we're aiming to do first, is put this lip around this frame. And as we're putting it on there, kind of pull back a little on the whole plastic part, so you're not, you know, you want to be careful about this plastic screw housing right here. You don't want to snap it off or break it, and you know, put it in its hole where it goes, and then it's going to clip at the bottom. And then this plastic up top, it's got this groove, a pathway for this, so you're going to want to get it in there, and also up around this lever here, and you can lift it up to see it better. It's through there. Once it's through there, you can look down in there and make sure that that one metal piece is in there where it should go. Once you got all that done, you just want to line up these Christmas trees where they go into their holes and push them in. Now that's done, we'll flip it upside down, do the other side of the plastic. So this one, just like when we were taking it back off, you know, it's kind of this lip's got to go around this frame, and it can be kind of tricky. once you get that lip in there, just work on sliding it up to where it goes. And once you got it there, also, be careful, the same thing on this one. It's got another screw housing, and you don't want to break it off. So that's the one right there. And you snap it back in with its metal clips. Alright, next part of it is the storage. So put the storage in here. And okay, so when you're putting this in here, see these areas here? These are basically like a guide for these metal wall things. You have to, slide in there. Make sure they slide in there, like so. And in the process, you get all this back where it goes. This wire. So go there. And this one here. In its place, we can go ahead and put the 220s in there just to keep it secure. Do these ones on the sides too. Okay, so here we got the cup holder part. Make sure we plug it all back in. And these need to go back into the storage compartment part. Get all those metal clips back in there. Now it's ready for the lid. before we stick the lid in, let's go ahead and get these interior plastics. So this is the easy one with 3 of them. Just kind of slides in there. Make sure the clips are lined up, and then snap it back. This one sometimes doesn't want to cooperate as easy. Snap it back. Let's put those T25s in there. Okay. The lid, just the same way it came out. Let's get those metal clips back in here. Time for the headrest. That's the last part. we're gonna do a back seat now. Before I start, just wanna explain something. When you're getting this seat out, you can't see it, but you have to unlatch this seat from the vehicle, and to do that you got to reach back here, reach behind it, and grab this little knob here and just pull it up. And so, you know, if you're reaching back here, it's on the left side, and reach till you feel this knob and just pull it. But now that it's out of the car, you're gonna need Phillips. I'm gonna take these plastics off. And a Torx T30. For these two. And basically there's a little knob thing. I'm just gonna pull that out. Be careful, you don't want to break that. If it's stuck and it's not wanting to pull out, you can tap it from the back with something. Pull it out like that. The side, just pull it out like that. Then we're gonna need a 13. So we disconnect these. Go ahead and do this. Just say you're going to do the back first. Just put it back up there. Alright, let's take these headrests off. Pushing both of those things in. Flip it upside down. Gotta get this J-clip, so one of the best ways is to just stick this in between on the end and get up underneath the J-clip, just twist it, and just comes apart. And these zippers, alright, then you're just gonna roll it off the edge here, all along the edge, and we gotta get them around these headrest bevels. So just pull towards you as much as you can and try and pull it over and reveal the corner of the bevel. And just pull it around the rest of it. And we're going to get the rails out of these clips. Put pressure against one side and roll that rail out. Get this J-clip at the bottom first. Same thing, stick it up under there and twist it so it comes apart. And the zippers. Now on these back seats, on the 19 to 20s, they switched to this pull strap system, the strap system, and yours may have a square latch lever handle, and if it does, you can just basically stick this into in between the cover and pull it until it pops off. You may break a tab, but it'll still go back on there. You also might have a shock on this side or this side. If you do, you'll have to take something really small and pointy, and it'll be down here where the shock is connected to the frame, and pull a pin out of the shock to pull it off. Once you do, you can pull this up and pull it out. When you are putting the new cover on, you may have to cut a slit, for the shock to go back through. But don't cut through the zipper. But just like your factory cover, if you do have a shock, the factory cover will have a slit here. When you put the new one on, you'll have to make one. Same for this side. If it has a shock here, when you're putting this cover on, you'll want to make a slit just the same as the factory cover has. Once you got all that off, pretty much just falls off. You can set the frame down. Just pull cover around the corners. Pull this Velcro off. I have Velcro down here too, and in there, in here, and try and push on the Velcro parts, so when you pull the cover off, you don't just rip these Velcro straps off the phone. You'll rip off of those sometimes. And then you just want to unclip all these rails. And now we're ready for the leather covers. Alright, so we got the cover. Basically we need to turn it inside out. Just gonna unzip it. Alright. On this one, we're gonna do these two first, and then these, and then these. Just kind of work from the middle out. So, and when you're clipping these in, you kind of want to make sure the seam is in the middle. And, you know, I usually stick my finger through these holes to kind of support the clip as I'm pushing the rail into it. You don't have to pull this to you to get it to reach the clips. And you know, once it's clipped in, just make sure it's lined up. It'll be pretty tight. Alright, for these middle ones, they're just a little tricky. Basically, you know, I come up over here underneath the foam and get underneath these clips. And then push them in like that. And once you have those two clipped in, it's, you know, it's gonna need pulled this way. And also, like, you know, kind of see it get tighter as you're pulling it to you. Pretty hard, you know, to where it's better lined up. And then just get up under these two. This top one doesn't really need getting up under it, but making sure all that's lined up, and then I'm gonna flip it. Same thing with this one, except really gotta switch hands. Get up under it with one hand, and then you can bend this rail to do it. I mean, I do like every time. It won't affect it. There it goes. And then once it's in there, go ahead and pull it to you to where it's better lined up. And then snap in the rest of these. Alright, basically, just gonna roll these corners over first, the top ones. Get that one over. those middles aren't as important right this second. Let's get these two top corners rolled over. Alright. So Ford changes things a lot. On some of the older models, they have a rail here, a really thin metal rail that this will clip around. You'll know if you have that model, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, and the factory cover has this big thing, it goes around this bar, but cat skin just makes them this way, and so if you have this bar here and you don't have the bar this actually clips onto, then there's a couple things you can do. You can zip tie it, or you can leave it the way it is, or you can cut it off. If you did want to zip tie it, and if you zip tied it, you'd be zip tying it to this rail. If you did want to zip tie it, there's a couple of different ways. You could, you can cut a hole in this, or not cut a hole, drill a hole, and then do it like that. Or if you don't want to even do that, you can just kind of do this right here. Just put the whole J-clip around the zip tie, and then you can tighten it up until it is back at its natural state. From doing this a gazillion times, I've come to realize that it's not even very necessary. So I always just cut it off. I kind of cut it off to try and contour this hole that's already here, make it look natural. You'll see when it's done, it's really not even necessary to be there. So I'm just gonna move on from there. Actually, I'm gonna do these tail flap things and Velcro them together and come back over here. And when when the zipper is kind of tight, it's not too tight, just be careful. Don't use a tool and just pull it. You want to make sure that these zippers are as close together with the least amount of pressure as possible. Same thing over here. Pull them together first, and then zip. Alright, so now we're pretty much at the end over here. I usually take these zippers and just stuff the end up under this bar. Like that. And then, there's this thing. Just make sure it's kind of where it goes naturally, and then put the zipper over it. and stick the end up under the bar. Keeps it from dangling around. Just keeps it in place. All right, for this part, just gonna pull this J clip to you as much as you can, and then take the flat clip, twist it in there. And then you gotta make sure it's actually secure in there. And then I'm just making sure it's not, sometimes it gets caught on this bar, like the J clip will be like that, and you don't want it to get caught on that bar. So if it does, you can just stick your hand up in here and pop it out from under there. I think good. All right, for these flaps at the end down here, basically just want to pull this out and stick it up under there, and then pull it back around. Just like that. So now all that's left for this thing is to cut the holes. So they give you a hole here that they recommend, and it's usually off a little bit. When you're cutting this one, you know, you just kind of want to go about, you know, a fraction of a centimeter, you know, to the right of it, and then right underneath this end of this thing sticking out like a tooth, and then should look something like that. And then these headrest bevels, you just want to fill the hole and cut a square just around the hole. And then just over one corner, and then work it around the rest of it. Alright. And now we're on to the cushion part. So we'll just set this aside. Alright, so we're going to turn this cover inside out. And Same process with the rails. We're gonna go these two. Actually, this time we're gonna go these middle two, then the outer two, then the front and the back. So when you're lining this one up, just use this top one to line it up. Just kind of line it up with this groove here. Get them in. So the middle one. Line it up. End here, make sure it's lined up. Velcro. Let's go ahead and hit this seatbelt area Velcro first. With this Velcro, sometimes, you know, if you just put it on it, it doesn't really want to stick very well. So when you put it on there, kind of wiggle it left and right, and you'll be good to go. And same thing with these long pieces. You know, when you're matching up the Velcro, make sure on the other side here that it's straight, you know, it's not curved or, you know, off center. And then just stick one piece on there and wiggle it till it's sticking. Just all the way across. Just start in the middle and go to one side, then to the other.
You gonna be able to cut this crap out that we don't need?
Yeah. It's hard.
Oh man, I should be doing this.
You can't though. You alright? You're gonna freak out and spaz out, ball on the floor.
Isn't that what you do?
Camera boy.
Gosh, I'm sick of this.
Who's not?
I'm sick of this.
Are you serious? Alright, so you're just gonna roll it around these edges, or the corners. frame back up here. So when you're putting this back on the frame, make sure these tails are out of the way. And then, you know, basically put it in from the bottom first, and all you really need to watch for is these child seat anchors. So put the foam up under those. There's two of them, you know, just make sure the foam gets underneath them. After that, just kind of wrapping this foam around where it's supposed to go naturally. And you got this spot here, and you got the whole top really that needs to go around this bar. And you got this one. Get it where it goes, and start to zip one of the sides. It doesn't necessarily matter which one first. But bring the zippers together. Zip them down. You know, this one uses this strap system and comes out of here, so we're gonna stick it up through. Just like that. Same on this side. Usually when you do one side and you go to the next side, just make sure that it's up where it goes before you zip it down. Make sure that the foam's around that frame like it's supposed to be. Next, I gotta flip it back on its upright position, and we're gonna have to cut for these child seat anchors. So, you know, you're cutting this hole, trying to rest it on this, you know, spot here. The whole thing's not going through it, just trying to cut it. You can just pretty much almost cut it on these anchors. Look like that. You know, it's about a little over half an inch from the leather, maybe more. Just like that. Alright. This zipper can be a little bit of a challenge. You know, you want to get it started. Let's go ahead and let's get started as much as you can. This takes a lot of might sometimes, but you know, you can't really pull this one to you very much. The only, you know, room you're gonna have to give yourself is gonna come from this side. You're gonna have to pull it down pretty hard and try and bring these together. And it may take a couple times. And once you got it started, it actually zips pretty easy. Just pull that down. Yeah. Try not to pull them zippers too hard. Okay, and then back here, I'm gonna shove these zippers up underneath. And then flip it over. It's almost done. You gotta push these flaps in here. That nice and clean. And now it's ready to be reunited with the back. Slide it back into these side parts. Put the bolts in there. Alright, so it's ready for the bolts. So get these started. Plastic. And you know, when you're putting this plastic on in particular, just watch for this. You don't want to break that off. You know, usually you can put this piece over the rail and pull it out quite a bit. Lay it down, and you have to pull that plastic piece over this bolt that we just stuck in there. And then once you got that in there, give it a couple taps. this piece goes on really easy. And that's it for the seat. You got these headrests. And these are pretty easy. On some of the older models, these side headrests on the rears will have a button, and you push it and it'll allow the post to fold, and you'll just have to pull the cover around that and then pull the cover actually off the headrest. I think the 19 to 20s, they got rid of that button altogether, that function. And then when you're putting the new one on, if you have that button, you'll just have to cut around the actual button part and then fold it over the part around the button. This one will be the same way. Just pull that flat clip out of the J clip. Just pull it around the headrests. So just want to lay it on its side, stick one side in there. These ones actually, let's just pull them down all the way on. Just make sure it's all lined up and straight. And get these side flaps out. And just kind of tuck them in a little bit. And good to go. This little one, kind of put a whole side in there and then pull it around the other side. Just kind of work it into place. Get these clips in there. There it goes. And make sure it's straight.